Welcome to the Derek Loudermilk Show. This is episode 362 with Bethany Londyn. We are joined today by my friend Bethany Londyn. She's back on the show after many years. She and I have been friends for many years. And she has a new way of using her gifts and talents, and she calls it a spiritual VC, a spiritual venture capitalist. I'm not going to say too much more about it because you'll hear that in the episode, but basically she uses energy work as a healer to support businesses and things like doubling their revenue or selling the business. She gave me a session for my business so I could experience it firsthand before we did this interview. So I have a little background, and I think you're just really going to enjoy understanding how that's even possible. So without further ado, here is Bethany Londyn. Yeah, but so I've got a few, this is more open than I usually have it, just because, I don't know, I haven't read your book either. And I only just remembered that you had that book. But so I think this more will be just like me being curious about stuff and hanging out in a sense.
I love it. And by the way, I did meet somebody the other day, and he does sound stuff too. It's probably very different because I don't know that he is focusing on vocals as well, but he'll focus on the sound of your whole body.
Oh, you're talking about that Facebook comment. Yeah.
Because I just saw it like 5 minutes ago.
Yeah. This particular work, and I did an interview with a woman that I can send you if you're curious, but I just sent my wife to do the same work. She just got back from Costa Rica, and it's a combination of, singing. Like she's a Broadway singer, recording artist, who's also on the medicine path for 20 years in ayahuasca, Peru, but who's also spent a 7-year life cycle in Tibet, learning Tibetan Buddhism. And so she's like combined these three worlds, and it's a really fascinating way of like working on each chakra in order with singing and chanting. And I'm on the heart chakra right now. So I spend 40 days on each one going up.
Oh, right. You were telling me. Okay.
Yeah. It's pretty cool.
And so your wife's having some cool.
Yeah. So she just started, and it's really amazing what it's done for our relationship. So she got back 2 weeks ago from Costa Rica. And for the first time ever, we like haven't had an argument in weeks, which
that's beautiful.
It's amazing. We're just coasting. And it's like when I went through it before, our arguments went down a little bit. And now that we've both sort of started on this, it's like we're so much more accepting of each other, and the stuff that we would want to change about the other person, we're just like, okay, you just be you, and I just accept you as how you are instead.
That's beautiful. I love it. So good. So juicy.
So I feel like we kind of already started. So let's just roll with it if you want.
Love it.
Did you know the first time and the last time you were on the show was November of 2014?
Okay. Long time ago. 8
years, almost.
8 years.
Seven and a half.
Wow. So I had my other book written by then. That's interesting.
So what we were talking about back then, we were talking a little bit about real estate, and you're still doing real estate, and we were talking about art, and you had a couple startups. But now so I'm really curious, what do you call yourself, and what do you call what you're doing now?
What I'm calling myself was actually dubbed by one of my clients, and I just love it so much. But I know that people don't understand really what it means, which is the energetic VC, like an energetic venture capitalist because I'm like a catalyst for companies as a healer. So I'm doing corporate healing.
So people, I know people know this legal term of a corporation can act as an individual under the law, but how is it even a thing where you can do corporate healing?
Yeah. So I've been working with CEOs of companies, and I just got a new company yesterday in real
Congrats.
estate. Yeah. So I'm excited about that. And so I basically work with like the founder or the CEO or whoever is at the top, because technically they're responsible for it all. Like if they're having, I don't know, let's say a bad personal, I'm going like into this because we're just talking about it, the bad relationship. If they're in a bad relationship, right, in their romance or their family or their wife or whatever, or their husband, then that is technically in their energy field and it's going to trickle out into the company. So I work on the soul of the company. I don't typically really go into a lot of the personal stuff, but I will tell you, one of my clients that went from the big one, like that I love to talk about, is the one that went from $8 million to $16 million in revenues in 2 months. And one of the things that came up in that was that there was bottleneck issues in the company. You know, I mean, a million companies are having bottleneck issues, or they can't get their shipping in, right?
Yeah.
And he was also having cholesterol issues, which is a clogging of the arteries. I'm like, you know, like how we do one thing is how we do another. So not saying that it's his fault that this is happening, but kind of saying that he's in that. So he's sourcing it. If that makes sense.
So I imagine some people might say, how do you directly link your work to doubling revenue like that?
Well, first off, I didn't know I was that powerful. Because now it's happened again. My other company, they are up 86% in a month and a half. Her closing rate has doubled, or not, it's more than doubled in a month and a half. And now I'm working on like the souls of the employees that are there. She owns a family law practice. So how I do it, I'm realizing it's another healer told me it's like when you start working out with me, you stake a claim in my energetic field. So I can do healings with one-on-one people, you know, like us, and the benefit for the business and the profits of all that. I'm really hold this container, let's say, of expansion and possibilities and miracles. So when someone stakes a claim in that, which is my energetic field, it supports them in that way.
You said you didn't know how powerful you were, but do you have a sense for how much power you have, and like what can you take on, and in that sense, like how much can you support?
Now I do. Yeah. Now I know. I'm like, wow, the fact that this is happening again and again and again, this is pretty freaking awesome. Because I knew I was good with one-on-one people, but I didn't know like that I could do it at that level for a company. And then as far as being drained, I have been told that I have really expansive energy and I can't be drained, because a lot of people, and I don't know that I fully agree with it. I know it's all mental also, but I have this ideal of only working with a select amount of people per month or per week, let's say, because I feel like it would be really draining. But someone's like, no, you don't even need to put a limit on that with your energy field. In my mind, I feel like I need to, but they're like, nope, that's not you, Bethany.
Okay.
Yeah.
So some part of you is like, maybe there's a time limit, or maybe there's some sort of limit. Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
And I was
the 8 million to 16 million, like I was tuning in to the soul of the company for about 30 minutes a day on average, sometimes more, sometimes less, every single day. Cause that was like he was my first guinea pig, and I wanted it to work really bad. Right. I wanted to prove to myself that yes, this was what I was meant to be doing. Cause I had all these people telling me to do it, but I didn't know myself yet that I was going to be valuable at that. So once I did and had those amazing results, and that was just like the obvious one. I mean, there's other things that happened that were really powerful. Like he needed to find a new place to move to. And I'm like, oh yeah, easy. And he's like, no, it's not easy. I'm like, yes, it is. Like 24 hours later, boom, new location, warehouse. And it was, I think, less money and just, yeah. So things like that, other things happened that were really easy. But yeah, I didn't know until I did. You know, kind of like people don't believe in God until they want to like see a miracle or something. And then other people are really good at just having faith and prayer and whatever.
Gotcha. So you proved it to yourself.
Yeah.
How long have you been doing this?
Well, the energy healing in general, 8 years.
And but
corporate since
the company
2020.
thing. What?
2020.
So okay, a couple of years. Is there a difference between the soul of a company and soul of a human, as you see it?
The company is a collective of souls.
Okay.
So when I'm tuning in, it really is just as easy because it's one big soul.
So it's the collective of all the people at the company, but when you say the soul of the company, you're talking about it feels like a collective.
Mm-hmm. But then when I'm talking to CEO, they're like, oh, this person, should I let them go? Da, 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 da. Or my CEOs will just ask me specific questions as well. And I can be like, oh, I feel like they should be on for about 2 more months, but yes, they can handle a conversation. So I can say what I intuitively get also that can support the CEOs. That's very individual. But when I'm working throughout the week, because that's throughout the week, that's on the soul of the company.
Okay. When you get these intuitive messages, how does it come to you? Like words or pictures, or what's the?
Yeah, great question. Yeah, so there's a lot of intuitives out there and they do operate in different ways. Like some people might get a visual, some people might hear, like all the senses, just imagine, or knowing. I get pretty much all of them except for sense, even though I have had the sense one where you smell things before. So if I'm talking, I will just have the insight. Like it'll just come to me like, oh, I hear 2 months, I hear this, da, 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 and I'll share it. But then if people are asking me questions, I'll feel this huge expansiveness in my chest. And what I talk about in that other book, which has nothing to do with corporate healing, but the book that I released in 2019, it was about listening to your body. I talked about body intelligence in it and how powerful it is to be in your body and listening, because if you go all the way back into Egyptian times, they used to think that your brain was in your gut. They thought the brain was in your stomach because people would feel it in the gut. Like, oh, my gut says this. I mean, where does that come from? Someone started that line somewhere. What's your gut say? Trust your gut. Like, that's about trusting your body.
Well, as I understand it, there's as many neurons around the gut as there are. I don't know, maybe it's not number, but more. It's more. Okay. Around the gut. Yeah.
Yeah. But so many people are in this like go, 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 go mode that they aren't present to things. Like I'll work with people and all of a sudden they're like, oh my God, my ears just started ringing. And then people are like, I have tinnitus. And I'm like, no, you're just connected now with the earth. Welcome.
Well, that's really interesting. You mentioned that. In the last 2 weeks, I've noticed this ringing in my ears.
Yeah.
Like, whenever everything's quiet, it's so loud. And I'm hoping it kind of goes away. I don't really like it.
You're connected to the earth's vibration.
Will it go away?
What if you started to embrace it?
I've accepted that it's there, but I don't know. What do you
now
get from embracing it?
Connected? Yeah, because the Earth's vibration is, I think, 528 hertz or something like that. So when you can tune in and you when you're that present, like right now, I'm like, I take a moment, right? And I'm like, okay, there it is. Like I'm connected.
Okay, so it's like this sort of diffuse awareness of being connected with the earth. Still don't think I like it, but that's okay. Earth.
Yeah. Yeah, to me, it's a really beautiful thing.
Okay.
And in 2020, a lot of people started talking about hearing the ringing in their ears. I started hearing about it left and right. People were talking about it as because a lot of people went into this inner work and they did some clearings, and there was a lot of fears and stuff that were released during 2020. So it actually became more and more apparent to people of how this
Hmm.
ringing is there. But yeah, it's a connection to the earth.
Interesting. All right. So
If you're making decisions, let's say you have a decision to
okay.
make, because we have decisions every day, all day long. But let's say there's a bigger decision. If you can get to that point where you're hearing the vibration or the frequency of the earth, same thing in my mind, and then you're present, right? And then you're connected, and then be like, okay, feel it in your body when you're thinking of a question or a decision to make. And it will be more aligned to truth than as you're just running around and not hearing anything.
Yeah, and I would say that I only notice the ringing when I'm quiet enough
Yeah.
to hear nothing else but the ringing. Yeah. All right. So you've done all kinds of training and learning skills. Listed on your website. There's like anything from NLP to all this personal development work you've done.
Yeah.
But I also kind of see your ability as innate to you. Like you were born with some gifts, and now you're accessing more and more of them.
Mm-hmm.
Could you talk about what are the things you actually learned, the skills you actually developed versus what's just was already there for you?
Yeah. Totally. I think as children, we all come into this world like with our gift. I mean, I know that we come into the world with our gifts. We aren't necessarily aware of it. And if you listen to children, and I'm sure, with your own, you've noticed where they might say something and you're like, for example, this is going to sound super crazy, right? But single. And I talk to my spirit baby. So I know like I don't know that they're going to have this name coming into the world, but their name in the ethers, let's say one of them is Luna. And all of a sudden Luna's coming to me left and right. And I was with my girlfriend, and her niece, who's probably 5 or 6 years old, is talking to my dog. And she looks up at me. And she goes, "It's really weird, but I keep wanting to call your dog Luna."
Hmm.
And I'm like, oh my God, she's so connected. Like this little girl knows nothing. Right. But because they're so receptive and open at a young age, they're in their intuitive gifts and stuff like that. So she's hearing that. And I know another girlfriend of mine, her daughter, they were in North Carolina. I'm here in LA driving. And her daughter's in the back of their van or whatever. And as I'm talking to my friend Lydia, another person starts calling. So that name flashes on the board. Next thing you know, I hear her daughter yelling in the back, "Veronica, Veronica." And I'm like, oh my God, Veronica is calling me right now. Are you kidding me right now? And she's yelling in the back in North Carolina, and I'm here in LA. And they have no idea that this person's calling. Like they're so tapped in. So for me, I get asked a lot like, hey, when did you know you're psychic or intuitive? And I'm like, I didn't. I had people telling me that I was intuitive. No idea. Because I would have a dream and I'm like, oh, I just imagine I had this dream that this couple was like married. And it was so weird. Next thing you know, they're like engaged and no one knew that they were even like into each other.
Oh.
So stuff like that would happen, like little things. And then someone gave me a book to read and I read it, and it was all about connecting with the spirits, which was like divine timing because I was living in Venice from Portland, Oregon, and I felt very unsafe in Venice. And when I had this book, what was it? I think it's called Ask Our Guides, maybe by Sonia Choquette.
Okay.
Anyways, it really was like the perfect book for me. And it had me tapping into like the spirits of the plants. And then all of a sudden I'm walking around Venice knowing, okay, I'm safe. I got the spirits of the plants here. They're all with me, like protecting me, grounded. Look at this tree, grounded. Like, so yeah. So it was very much a developed process for me, but I believe that it's there. And a lot of people talk about the pineal gland. You're familiar with that?
I am.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a big conversation about that, right? How a lot of the products we eat or the way we sleep and the screens are basically calcifying our pineal glands, where that is the third eye. I was talking to that guy I was talking to about with the sound, and he was like,
Yeah.
our souls are in our pineal gland. And if you look at Egyptian drawings, they always draw the pineal gland in.
They're like holding it, like the pine cone, the picture of them holding the pine cone. And
Yeah.
yeah, like all those ancient Sumerian carvings. It's the same thing with the guy with the handbag, the man bag purse, and the pine cone. Have you seen that?
Oh,
It's like in these
yeah, I can
monolithic
see it, but I'm
sites.
like, I don't see the man bag.
Oh, it's really interesting. There's in monolithic sites all over the world,
Yeah.
from the sort of South American sites, the Egyptian sites, the Sumerian sites, the Turkish Göbekli Tepe. There's always 7 dudes with beards wearing a man bag, a single satchel, and holding the pine cone, like zapping you with pineal gland knowledge. So the theory is the man bags are like teaching people, it's like full of seeds, and it's teaching humanity how to do agriculture when they were
Oh,
teaching humans how to restart their civilization after the fall of Atlantis.
wow.
The seven sages. Yeah.
Speaking of Atlantis, do you know about these?
No, but I wanted to ask you about that because they're like purple, these purple rods for people listening. Tachionite.
Yeah. Yes, the
What are
tachyon
they?
rods. So supposedly the tachyon consciousness, it's a consciousness. It was around in Atlantis, and it died with Atlantis. So the tachyon consciousness can be manipulated any which way, and the power was used towards evil. At first it was good, and then it was evil. So apparently I'm so good at selling these that they made me like a distributor. I don't know how it is, but like a seller of these, because they called me the guardian of the tachyon, the people that bring these in. They're in Arizona living. Oh my gosh. Tachyon living. There you go. We'll plug for you guys. Anyways, they infuse their rods with love so that there's like, however, the I'm seeing it. I can't even say it. What's like the circular, not a hex. Is it a hex?
An orb or a sphere or something? Taurus?
Sure. I'm like, the word's not coming to me other than hex, and that doesn't sound good. These are hexed with love. They cannot be broken. Yeah. So for me, I was talking about these, but I didn't even own one. And then I had people buying them, and I didn't even own one. And I'm like, I'm not spending $255 on some rods, meditation rods. And then my friend's like, no, Bethany, like tune in, check your gut. And I'm like, okay, how profitable are these 255 dollar rods? And I got that they were over 10 times profitable. So I'm like, okay, I'll buy them. And then when I got them, holy moly, I couldn't even sleep. The energy was so shifted. It was like I was turned on. Not like I'm wide awake and circling. I was activated. And it was way
What are they
powerful.
made of? Are they metal? Are they stone?
Yeah, I mean, it feels like this is like 1 pound.
They're heavy.
I believe they're 1
dense.
pound each. They have smaller ones, and like I even have this necklace. Like I feel naked if I don't have this on, the flower of life, but it's infused with the tachyon because it's like in front of my heart, right?
Okay.
But yeah, it feels like metal, and I don't know the process for infusing them with the tachyon. But I went and visited them when I was in Arizona visiting a friend, and they have this whole chair and the circular thing that's all filled with tachyon. The paint around the room is infused with the tachyon, and you just lay there and you're like, vibrating. Like it's
That
so
sounds
insane.
really fun. I would like to visit. Maybe I'll visit there.
Yeah. Yeah. If you go to Arizona, let me know. I'll
Well, we
hook you
might be
up.
going to Arizona. We might spend some time there this summer.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're like in the suburbs of Phoenix, at least for now.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. It's so cool.
Okay, so it's this metal purple. There was something with Tesla and the purple metal. Had these like
Oh,
little
yeah.
plates
So
of
they
purple metal.
say, yeah, yeah. What I'm describing is like that circular where you have the circular protection thing, like the diagram. It's all like a coil, almost like a coil and circular. So maybe that's kind of like the Tesla, but they say it moves at the speed of light.
It
Tachyon,
does.
that's like the definition of tachyon, right? So it moves at the speed of light. And so for me, I use them a lot when I'm doing healings. Like, let's say I'm working on somebody's soul and I'm like, okay, so I see you, we've cleared you up. You look really clear. So, as far as an energy healing, I'll explain that a little bit. I'll look into the soul of somebody and I'll get a vision sometimes as they're talking, not always, but sometimes. And I'm like, okay, I see you on a treadmill and you're attempting to run. So it's to me that I'm like, okay, so they're attempting to move forward, but then there's bricks on their feet. So either it's really hard to run or they're stuck and they can't move at all. Oh yeah. Yesterday I was talking to somebody. I'm like, okay, you look like, I don't know if you ever had that clown thing where you punch it and it's like weighted at the bottom and it's this big blow up, like
It goes over and then
bobble
comes back
thing. And
at
it
you.
like,
Yeah.
yep. And then it balances down and comes right back up. So I'm like, that's what I see. So it's like people are punching you down and you pop back up, or is it then you're stuck and you're weighted and like you're not moving other than like you keep flopping and coming right back up. So like, let's get you into movement, right? So then I could be like, okay, so anywhere that you're stuck, clear and transmute across all time, dimension, space, reality. And like, I'll just start clearing till the image shifts and whatever I'm hearing, and I just start going into the healing. So that was like a simple example. And then sometimes I can't get it to shift because people aren't ready for a shift. They aren't ready for the next level or whatever. It could be their own resistance. And then I'm like, are you sure you really want this? And they're like, yes, no, I'm serious. I want it. And I'm like, well, because you're not showing up like you do. But if they say they want it, then I bring in the tachyon, or I'll get the download, like grab the tachyon and I'll send the tachyon. And it's like, I can see the tachyon just literally bust those bricks into sand, like instant. So it's like, I'll be doing my thing. And then it's like, I need to call in some support.
Okay. So it's like an additional thing, but you have to like go get them and physically hold them. Why does that help?
I mean, honestly, I pretty much always have them around me wherever I am.
Okay. Your comfort.
Like, it's hard for me to travel because I would have to check my luggage probably in order to, I don't want them to be taken away and, at the airport. And I only do carry on for the most part. So yeah, like otherwise they're pretty much always with me.
Okay. I want to ask you, so this is one of the, since you've got these abilities, let me just tell you this interesting story that happened to me. Okay. So I've got a recurring dream neighborhood. It's full of trees, old trees, and mansions. And often in my dreams, I'm touring these mansions and it feels like my neighborhood. And I'm like shopping for houses. And I'm like, should I get this one or should I get that one? And then the other day I had a specific vision of this like long driveway lined by trees, and then sort of the mansion's a little hidden, but you can very clearly tell the stone sort of octagonal second story. I don't know what you call architectural features, like jutting out, and so then I was like, that seems really specific. So I looked on Zillow and I found the exact. So I had made a sketch after the vision, and I looked and I saw the first picture for this house for sale on Zillow is this exact thing that I had just drawn. And I was like, that's really interesting. So I went yesterday. I went to this neighborhood and looked at this house, just went by it just to see it. And the neighborhood is exactly the neighborhood from my recurring dreams. The trees, the rolling hills, and the mansions. It's all like exactly how I had seen it. But I didn't get like a feeling like that's my house when I saw this place. I wasn't like, ooh, yes, I finally found my dream home. It was like, oh, that's kind of a cool house, but I don't love it. I could live there, but didn't feel like it was for me. So given that you're in real estate and you have your special powers, what do you think all that means?
Okay, first I have to say this just to clear the space. It's a double helix, is what I was trying to think of earlier for the tachyon.
Okay.
Okay.
Cool.
So now going to this image, I was getting images with you. Because there's these long driveways into these neighborhoods in Maryland with these mansions, but they'll be surrounded by neighborhoods. It's kind of funny. Okay, so it didn't feel like home to you.
It felt like the right neighborhood, but not the right house in a sense.
Is it for sale?
There's only the one house that was the one that I sort of drew a picture of. That's the one for sale. Yeah.
Did you go tour it?
I didn't tour it. I went around the outside just to check it out.
I would keep going there because I feel like there's something there for you. Not maybe you don't buy the house or anything. Maybe it's like who you meet because you're touring it. Like that's what it feels like. It feels like continue the flow. Is it close to you?
A couple miles.
Oh my God, that's so freaking amazing. I love it. Oh, look how intuitive you are getting the guidance.
Well, so
yeah, it's like trust what's coming, right? Trust there's a flow there. That's like,
but it's so unclear. It's like, yes, there are signs, these recurring things and this fantastic sort of synchronicity, but it's not telling me anything.
It's like a crumb, and you follow the crumbs.
Okay.
You're like, I don't want to, Bethany. I feel like
I love following crumbs. I love a good mystery, but I guess what I'm wanting is like some sense of like where this is going. If it's not like telling me to buy a house or something, like if it's totally.
No, to me, it feels like you're supposed to meet somebody.
To meet somebody.
Yeah, that's what it feels like to me. You're supposed to meet someone. Yeah, because I got a no for buying the house when I tune in. And when I said meet somebody, it's like, oh, yeah. So is there an open house? I would go to an open house.
All right.
Because that's when the people will be there, right? Is it the owner of the house? No. Yeah. I mean, like, I'm all about if you get the guidance to go to, let's say, a bar, and you're like, no, I have zero interest in going to a bar right now. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Like, that's the last thing I want to do. But then I get this like nudge, like, no, you need to go, or you need to go now to the Whole Foods. It's like, okay, all right. I just trust it, right? And maybe there's something there for me, or maybe they're just playing with me. Like, okay, is she going to listen this time? Like, I lost my passport. I've been needing my passport forever. And I knew that all I needed to do was play with my guides and that they would lead me to my passport. Right. And I had another friend tune in because it's like, I don't even like, to me, it felt like such a heavy energy just to even play to like find the passport. But I knew for the longest time, I just needed to go into this one box and look. Like, I already had that guidance. Mm-hmm. And it was like the only place I hadn't looked yet. And I'm like, today's the day. Okay, we're doing it. Let's do it. Lead me to my passport, guys. And sure enough, I found my passport and it's expired. But I found it. And it's like, it's like how much am I going to just trust the messages and like jump when I'm getting them?
Which I think probably a lot of people can relate to. I can relate to, which is this trying to figure out what's a message and what's just sort of like random thoughts passing through.
Yeah.
What's your sense of that?
Okay. Yeah. So one of the things I talk about in my book is being aligned to your truth. And a lot of us think that we're aligned. I used to think I was super aligned. In fact, going through the passport to find the passport, I found all these journals. There's like 25 of them. So I'm like, oh my God, I can go through these now and clear them because a lot of them are really old. And now I have all this energy healing gifts, right? So I opened one up yesterday. I was like, oh God, I wrote that, like gross. I'm like, I'm throwing this away. But anyway, so it's like, it's led me on this whole other journey. But I used to think like I'm doing so many things now that I did that even then. And as I'm reading it, I'm like, oh my gosh, that still hasn't happened. That still hasn't happened. But what's interesting is like now I have the energy aspect, so I can clear the stuff behind it.
Like, what's an example of something you still haven't done? What do you mean?
Yeah, like I wrote that I want to have multiple properties and buy a home in LA, and like my properties give me passive income of like 18 grand a month.
Gotcha.
But it's like almost every year that's still on my resolution list. Or being married and having a kid. There's one. Hello. Yeah. So I wrote some things though that you have to give credit to, because some of the things like I wrote like having an amazing partner, where I don't remember what the details are, but I'm like in my mind I'm like I'm not married, so I haven't accomplished anything, but I'm like no, actually I did have that with somebody, right? We just didn't get married, but I had that with somebody. So it's also noticing the things that were wins. Maybe they weren't the full win, but like this life is a journey. So got to celebrate everything. But one other share I wanted to do with the guidance stuff is my girlfriend who also works with spirits. She was like, oh my gosh, they're playing with me, Bethany. I went to charge in my AirPods and the case was gone. And I swear it was right there. And she's like, I know my guides are playing with me. They took it away. And in my mind, I'm like, are you sure you're not crazy? Like, like maybe you didn't. There is a chance that you didn't put them there. She's like, no, Bethany, I swear they were there and now they're gone. And she's like, I decided to tell my guides to bring it back and I didn't want to play this game. And the next day they were there, right next to her charger. So like stuff like some things just like seem crazy, but it's like, okay, but your question, back to the question of alignment. So the whole point of me bringing up the journals, I went on a tangent, was I used to think I was aligned and I could see some of the answers I was getting because I would write back then. I was more really just gut centered versus all the other awarenesses. Mm-hmm. So I would get yeses and nos. But what I realized is because I had a whole list of people that I was working with for a startup I was involved in, and I had yes, no, yes, no. So I was basically just tuning into my gut. Like, did my gut say yes, work with them? No. It's really about asking more questions. If you're just learning this intuition stuff and you're like, am I connected to truth, would be one of the questions you ask. And when it feels expansive and light, then you're like, okay, I'm in truth. Like for you, the ears ringing, like then you're connected to the universe. So you can ask multiple questions like, okay, am I connected to the universe? Yes, no, that feels heavy. That feels constrictive. Nope. Okay. Let me go outside, step outside for a second, connect to a tree, maybe put my back up to a tree or hug a tree. Okay. Now I feel grounded and relaxed and present in my body, or feel your toes, your feet, your fingers, like yoga nidra, feeling every single sense. That will help you be in presence. Right. So then you ask the next question. Okay. Am I to hire this person or work with this person? Get a yes or no. Like at that point, you're more in alignment than just asking the questions as you're running throughout your day. Mm-hmm. And to take it to another level of alignment is holding the vision. Like when I'm working with the companies, I'm like, okay, this company wants this profitability number, or this company wants this amount of sales. Like I would ask every question and tag it to that. Like, will hiring this person support reaching $6.5 million? Yes. Okay. That's a yes. Will hiring this person support reaching the $6.5 million? All of a sudden I feel like my throat close up, nope, that's a no. So that's another level of alignment, is when you ask the question, holding the goal in mind and attaching it to that.
Okay. Interesting.
Does that make sense? That was the question before I went on a tangent.
I can't even remember exactly what my question was.
I don't either, but it had to do with like alignment, basically.
Yeah, you said something about you asking your friend, "Are you sure you're not crazy?" And I wonder, sometimes, my parents ask me that. They're like, "Well, couldn't it be possible that all these people are just crazy, or that you're crazy?" So yeah, what do you say when you ask yourself that question? Am I crazy?
I would say I'm weird. I'm definitely weird.
Okay.
I don't believe that I'm crazy, but sometimes, we have these thoughts and you're like, oh, is that crazy? No, I'm weird though. I'm definitely weird. I'm weird. I'm awkward and I own it. I love it.
I've been operating under this. I guess it's kind of like a mantra I reminded myself, but it's like, I am the weird friend.
Yeah.
So that when you feel like being weird, you can come to me and talk about what it's like to be weird, and then we can be weird together. So it's like this permission slip for anyone else who knows me, just to be as weird as they want.
And here we are, being weird. Anyone that's listening, you may be weird. Don't take offense. It's cool. You're in the cool, weird club.
Cool, weird club. Why do you still do real estate? Are you still a realtor?
Yeah. What I would say about real estate is I don't hustle it. So the corporate stuff has really been expanding for me since 2020, and it's freaking phenomenal. And I'm super stoked. But when a real estate opportunity comes and like, there's the opportunity to make like a pretty good money, like why say no, especially when it's easy and fluid. So
is there something
my request, I put stakes in to the universe. I'm like, look, like in the event that I have clients, they get to be easy, effortless. Like I place these rules and boundaries around the deals, which is really beneficial for my clients, actually.
We have a realtor that we work with here in St. Louis. We bought 3 properties with her now, and it's like every time it's so easy. It's incredible. She'll be like, we were selling our house last year, one of our houses, and she was like, I think I have a buyer. I'll put you in touch. And he was like, this guy that manages properties, and he has a bunch of investors. And he was like, actually, I probably have 4 people that could buy your house today. And let me just check with them. And he was like, actually, I only have 2. And then they made the deal, and it was like no work. We didn't list it. We just like made a phone call. And yeah, I love when those things it's like you get everything you want. You just name your price and they get it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the beauty. Yeah, because some of these, I have some people that have been referred to me through other people, and it just is like so frustrating because there's not much inventory now. So what I'm doing is I'm like, okay, it gets to be easy. Like if they want to work with me, it gets to be easy. Or I have other people refer like that are my client, like my team, let's say, to do it. Because I don't mind. I would rather just, if I'm getting the opportunities of real estate and I don't have the energy for it, because I would tell you real estate is draining. It's draining. The energy stuff is not. So I'm like, hey, do you want to take on this client? And let me know. Cause like, I love the people. I always love the people. And I know that any experience is there for me to learn from. This is something interesting. What time? How are we going to do it on time? We're good. We're good.
We're good.
This is okay. This is really powerful, people. Anything that comes up in your life is showing up for you. Anything that shows up in your life. So if I'm like sitting here and I'm like, real estate can be really draining for me, then of course it's going to be draining. I just owned that and said that out into the universe. If someone shows up and because right now what's happening is the rates are increasing. So they go from, I can afford this home to all of a sudden I can only afford this home, like way less because the rates are increasing. And I'm like, okay, this is showing up for me right now. To clear one way that I operate there's actually a book about it, but I didn't know. Someone told me there's a book about it, is Zero Limits. I don't know. I'm putting it out there if you want to read it. Okay. That's all about the Ho'oponopono. But this guy had, he worked at a mental institute or a hospital or something, and people did not last. The employees would not last there. They would leave. They hated it. Then one time this guy, and it was in Hawaii, he just started doing the Ho'oponopono and whatnot, healing he started opening, like he was the guy that ran it. I almost dropped my tack-in rods. So he'd go through these files of all the people that are at the mental institute and he'd start healing them on himself. So if I have a client and all of a sudden they can't buy a house anymore, then I'm like, anywhere I can't buy a house, anywhere something just shifted that's out of my control, and now I can't buy the house, like let's shift that, let's release that from the energy field. So this guy in the mental institute, he starts going through, okay, anytime, anywhere I've been abused as a child, and he starts doing the healing, his style of healing, because we all heal differently. And next thing you know, there's nobody left in the mental institute. There were like 2 people. That was it. Like he supported them so much by clearing them on his own body. Oh. Does that make sense? So when I'm also like friends or me dating now, right? So I'm like, okay, this guy just stood me up. Then immediately I'm like, anywhere I'm standing people up or I'm not being my word or integrous or whatever, like I clear that on me, because I don't want it in my energy field. Is that clear?
Yeah. So there's something in you that's the world is reflecting an experience of something that's for you. Okay.
Yeah. So even if I wasn't like for the guy and maybe he wasn't abused, right? But here he is clearing abuse in his energy field. It's showing up for him. So maybe it was in a past life that he was abused. Or maybe it's just the experience of being with somebody that has abuse, right? So by clearing it from himself and his energetic field, which is not just our body, it's way beyond our body, our energetic field, then that reflection in turn supports the people around you and the people that you are connected with and working with.
What's your sense on mixing healers? Like if you have support from a few different healers, there's the expression, too many cooks spoil the soup. You've got different people, like supporting you in different ways. What can that get too mixed up?
I haven't really thought about it, but now that you say it, it made me think of this one person that I worked with. We were working on a relationship and her ex had committed suicide. Mm-hmm. So that was kind of a heavy thing. And he full on came into the space and I was like crying my eyes out because I could feel his depression. So I was like crying, not for them. I was feeling his sadness, right? That's why I was crying. And so we support, this client and release him. And then like 2 days later, she's like, oh my God, I had the best sleep ever. I finally am able to sleep. Because this happened like, I don't know, I think it was like 14, 15 years ago, a long time ago. We talk like a few days later, she's like, amazing, amazing, amazing. Things are so good. And then like a few days after that, she's like, oh my God, I just talked to my friend and she said, he's back. This other intuitive friend that she has, she's like, he's back. I'm talking to him. And all of a sudden it's like everything we just did went, I don't know that, things definitely shifted, but it was like he was back in the space versus being released, which is what we had just done. Right. So to me, I was like, oh my gosh.
Planted that seed and it invited him back in some way.
Yeah. It didn't backfire, but that's the word I'm using because in the work that I did, I was releasing him. Right.
Do you think he was a soul that was like stuck in limbo, that like hadn't fully transitioned from being alive because of this? Like what was his status?
Yeah, because he's very much attached to her and probably looking to communicate with her in some way, shape, or form. This is bringing me to another example. I was in Concord, Massachusetts with a girlfriend at this house who is very much a medium. So I don't usually see people. I'll like, they'll come in and sometimes I'll see them, but she's like walking around. Oh my God, I was describing this the other day. I couldn't sleep for like 5 days of my week trip. I felt like I was in a crowded bar walking amongst spirits in Concord, Massachusetts. It was so freaking intense. And my girlfriend next to me, she's like, so do you see that guy right there? Like there was nobody there. We were in a backyard. I'm like, no. She's like, so you don't see the guy in front of us with the pitchfork and blood all over the pitchfork? I'm like, no. She's like, yeah, he hadn't, let's say, crossed over because he had so much guilt for murdering somebody. So he was
a long time ago.
like million. Yeah. Who knows when? Yeah. So he's in this limbo state with blood on his pitchfork, like not knowing what to do and just ridden in guilt. And if you want to talk biblical, and there's like hell and heaven, like that is a personal hell, being ridden with guilt in this limbo state, right? So she basically, what she did is she's like, you're okay. She basically was like, you're okay. Like, it's okay. Like, that was your life. Not that it's okay to kill somebody. I mean, I'm not going to give permission for that, but like he needed to know that he was okay. And then whatever permission she gave him, he released into the light and he was okay. So he was living.
Did she see him just like disappear before her eyes?
No, because I don't know that the spirits ever actually leave. That would be my take on it. And this would be probably amazing conversation with her. So I can hook you two up because she's a total medium. But our take on it is versus the heaven or the hell is we're all here. There's a million spirits all over, millions of spirits all over. And like a friend that just passed on, right? A few months ago, she passes on, then she's a spirit. And now she's coming to me and she'll whisper in my ear and I can ask her and communicate with her and ask questions. But first she goes into this phase of like figuring out what does it mean to be a spirit? Like, what is this new space? And I can walk on this earth and feel heaven on earth here. So it's just, they're always here at our access or trying to communicate with us, but being attached, which is what that other person was attached to the suicide. That was like a energetic cord cutting that we were doing to like release that energy, because being in that cord, there's like a forced connection that's stopping her from moving forward and dating or being like, well, she'll go on dates, but like going to the next level with a human because of this pressure that's been created between her and this other ex. So it doesn't mean that he's like completely gone. It means that there's no more any attachment.
Okay.
I feel like I'm rambling, but I'm hoping I'm landing something.
No, this is cool. And I'm just letting whatever I'm curious about sort of guide things. But this might be a good time to talk about, we talked a month ago and you gave me a session. And in particular, we had a specific objective. So like the company you talked about wanted to double their revenue. Our objective was to continue to expand the podcast. So bigger reach of the show and also, bigger guests or guests that are harder to get and just sort of like help the channel itself elevate and reach more people. So, and I would say we've experienced that. We've got a lot of interesting. So like I had a request for someone to introduce me to Aaron Epke. He's coming on the show tomorrow. And that text wasn't responded to for like 6 weeks. And I was like, he probably just, skipped over it. And then he replied, he's like, yep, happy to, here you go. And I was like, wow, that's so easy. And yay. Another guest, Charles Eisenstein, is coming on the show. And I've had a lot of friends be like, I tried for years to get him on my show. And it took so long. And my assistant was just like, send his team a quick email. And they're like, yep, sounds great. Let's set it up, So I would say, and then our YouTube channel is kind of in that sort of the bend part of the hockey stick. It's about to, we're seeing the acceleration of the views and the growth and the subscribes and stuff like that.
Yay.
So I would definitely, in my mind, it's exactly what we were shooting for.
Yeah. When
we had that session.
Awesome. Yeah. And that was one session. Yeah. Which is so cool. And I don't really remember what we were clearing or anything like that specifics, because I so get into this like channel of just whatever's coming through. Right. So I just go with it. And then I think a huge part of this also is that you're really open to the work and you trust it. Because I have learned that all of this, a huge factor is trust. or faith, whatever word you want to use.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was one particular expression, and I can't even remember it, but it was like you were like, we just need to open the pathways for these things to arrive. It was like you just need to clear the underbrush,
or
and
like
so you have a
branches.
path through the forest. Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes I'll see like these, it's almost like these yellow brick roads, let's say, or golden roads. And there'll be like all these branches down, or sometimes you'll see like swords down, like which means you have to go through some sort of stupid battlefield in order to. So a lot of us are like, you can't get to success without lots of hard work, right? Like that's something we're taught as children. So yeah, or anywhere you have to go through a battlefield to get to the other side to have a win, like anywhere that's in your under, like clear it. Let's clear all those, release those statements from your field. It can be easy, people. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's this great book called Effortless by I can't remember, Greg McKeown. He also wrote Essentialism, which a lot of people love for just doing what's essential. And I can't hardly remember anything from that book other than what is the feeling of something being effortless, just everything in life being easy. And that, to me, just sort of approaching things with the plan for it to just go sort of easily in a miraculous way was this fantastic way to run a business.
Yeah. Well, that's why I love Richard Branson too. I don't remember which book I read, but he really followed the joy. He followed what lit him up, which is not necessarily effortless, but it's like exciting and fun and lots of love involved.
Yeah.
Yeah. And obviously he's been successful. Just a little bit.
Can I ask you some more intuitive questions?
Yeah.
Okay. So just maybe so people can hear an example, just little things I'm curious about. I'm thinking about doing a quick ski trip. I know I think you're a snowboarder.
That's really weird. I have to say, you asked that question and then I literally just saw like a shooting star over here, but keep going. That was really weird. Okay. I've never seen that before. I love when new things happen.
Awesome. So
ski trip.
Yeah. So I'm thinking of either Idaho, Sandpoint, Idaho. There's a little resort up there, or Colorado, Durango. And yeah, which one should I go to?
So Durango, or what's the other one in Idaho?
It's the closest town is Sandpoint. I'm trying to think of the name of the resort. So I'll probably go with my brother-in-law and a couple friends, maybe.
Durango all day long.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What is this? So what's
happening right now, like the physical experience, is this one I feel interesting in my rib cage. Okay. So for me, like there's the expansive knowing, and then the constrictive, yes, no. There's hearing, yes, no. Some people will see like a flash of red or green, like stop, go. Some people will hear like a nice chime in their ears, or like a no. For me, I feel yeses also in my gut. Mm-hmm. This is very much in my rib cage, but where it's like a ping, like used to have like an M5, a BMW, and their seats, like it's like they hug your love handles. If you go into M mode and you take a turn, it's actually really, you're like, whoa. So it's like someone squeezes my love handles, yes or no. And so I got a no on the left side when you were talking about Idaho. And then I got a yes when you were talking about Colorado. And then I asked you again to be even more specific because I wanted to like double check. And it was the same.
I was expecting you to answer the other way, because personally, I felt like Idaho is the right place to look.
And okay. And so keep talking about that. Let's see what's come through.
Because I was thinking about where to look, and then I was reading about just doing research about ley lines, and there's this, for some reason, Sandpoint came up, and I had been thinking about it for a ski trip, and it came up in what I was reading about in terms of like telluric fields and ley lines and being a
Oh,
place in Sandpoint. And I was like, oh, maybe I should go see what it feels like.
oh, that would be fun. So I'm totally getting a no. Is that going to shift something for him? Okay. It feels like that's going to shift something and it's not profitable. So I guess what is your ultimate goal of going on this trip is what I would say.
Yeah, partly to scope out a potential mountain house location to see if we like the vibe of a town enough to sort of get a family home.
Oh, I'm hearing maybe in 3 months if you want to go there, but not now.
Okay. So like check it out in the summer and
Yeah,
then
it feels like something's off for Idaho, but that is like right now in this moment, right? So when I'm asking questions, most of them are in this moment. And so if the plan is, when is the plan to go in general with your buddies?
next month.
Yeah. Yeah, I still get a no. So I have like friends at this point that will be like, Bethany, what does your gut say? What does your gut say? What does your gut say? Or whatever. Like, what do you get on this?
Yeah.
And I'll give them, I'm like, okay, well, it becomes a little annoying, especially if they're friends, because it's like nonstop. Clients seem to have a little more respect or for boundaries, but this one friend that is always asking me questions, wait for her to listen to this, it'll be great. I'm like, I don't know, I get to go to Hawaii and don't go to Mexico. Like she's always traveling, right? And then she'll go to Hawaii and make the decision I made for her, which I don't, I really don't want that responsibility. I'd rather her be in her own truth. She's like, are you sure? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, it doesn't matter to me. That's just what I'm getting. There's no right or wrong. Right. And then all of a sudden she'll be in Hawaii. And she's like, oh my gosh, COVID broke out in the group I was going to be hanging out with in Mexico. Like I didn't tune in and get those specific details, but that's what's ended up happening. And so she totally made the right decision by following, what I was getting.
So she does place some trust in that and follows that even if she wants. I mean, yeah. It really doesn't matter.
Like we didn't know that was going to happen, right? I was just like, no, go to Hawaii. And she's like, okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And this is one of those things where it's like, I don't have a lot of, it doesn't matter where I go skiing, really, and I have to probably go spend time in a whole bunch of different towns just to feel each one in turn to see which one is the right one. So, oh yeah, terrible, terrible problem. Okay, cool. That's interesting. All right.
Yeah, it just feels like this Idaho thing it's just not a good time right now. That's all. Okay. It doesn't mean that it's not the right place to
go. St. Louis, which is where I am, in that same thing I was reading that talked about Sandpoint, it said St. Louis is a hall of healing and enlightenment. And I've always viewed St. Louis as a place that had its glory days, a century ago. And just like so many towns in the Midwest are falling apart because of segregation, lack of industry. We have houses falling down all over the city. It feels, in some ways it's still beautiful, and in some ways it's just like a big mess. So what is your sense, if you can tap into this, of St. Louis's role in the evolution of humanity? Like what's its role right now, and why am I here in St. Louis at this moment?
Well, first off, what's really interesting is as you started talking, I got a headache on the right side. So this is another thing. I will totally feel other stuff. And it's on the right side, which is your masculine side. Okay, I'm hearing just be with it, but okay, St. Louis, what is his role here? Okay, ask the question one more time. What is your?
I guess it was a couple questions. So
yeah,
what is the, first of all, what does it mean St. Louis is a hall of healing and enlightenment?
What is the meaning of that?
Yeah.
First off, my throat is choking up. I feel it in my chest. So I would not say that it's like overall arching a place of healing in this moment. It doesn't, it feels like a broken heart that's trying to cry or sing out. um, she's ready to evolve, but not ready, or but not willing. That's what I hear.
And as you're speaking, there's a bunch of sirens going outside, and my daughter just started crying downstairs.
Maybe that's why I'm crying. I said the crying part. Wow, that's funny. I can't hear it at all. That's impressive.
That's good.
Yeah.
Directional mic, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're not getting anything in particular about that phrase or understanding the role of St. Louis.
Every time you say the role, it like immediately the throat closes up. Like, does that mean not? No. It's like it doesn't have a voice. What? Yeah. I've never heard of that as the St. Louis thing.
Not having a voice?
No, like being like a healing.
Neither had I. It just encountered that on this website, and I was like, oh, that's really interesting.
Yeah. Maybe that's a vision that someone's trying to portray out. Yeah, because I'm like wanting to cough right now. I'm like, it feels like there's no voice.
Yeah, and St. Louis has like a lot of national movements have originated from St. Louis. I think partly because, like if you remember the Ferguson riots, and we have a lot of violence here, and sort of people responding to the segregation and
right.
So the second part of my question was, am I supposed to be in St. Louis, or if so, why am I supposed to be in St. Louis now versus somewhere else?
You're there for family?
My parents live here. This is where I grew up, and we came back, partly to be near my folks.
Yeah. It feels juicier to move.
Yeah.
It definitely. So when you're talking about like, the movements happening there, what comes to me is like people fighting to have a voice, but it not landing, if that makes sense. It's like if I'm screaming from the top of my lungs, or I'm here on this podcast and someone's listening and they're like, I don't get what that person, it's like my message isn't landing. So if people are, let's say, rioting or doing these marches and screaming and all these things, and it's like it's not landing for some reason. There is like a closed throat, so there's like a hush over it where people aren't hearing the message.
Well, that's definitely what has happened. I think like all the protests and stuff, the movements, I don't know how much has really changed, honestly.
Yeah. And is it better for it to happen in Portland? No, but if I think of like Portland, Oregon, because there's a lot of stuff that happened there. That's where I'm from. Even though I'm right now. I'm like, oh my gosh, what is this? Portland. Portland is really outrageous all of a sudden. Like that feels completely different. That's a totally different energy when I like tap into the energy there.
I was just, we just had a snowstorm, and the snow was on the ground for about a week, and I was outside every day playing in the snow, and I was like, this feels like it should. So I'm aware I need to be somewhere where in the winter I'm outside playing every day. It needs to have snow on the ground. I need to be skiing every day or doing stuff, which to me says Colorado or Idaho or wherever. Yeah.
Yeah. So are you thinking of having two places or moving to like a ski town?
That's not really clear. The direction we were thinking was having a shared family home so that we can go there for a month every summer with the family, and we can do these like, week trips periodically throughout the year, like a more like a vacation home.
Yeah.
But
Like rent it out or whatever.
probably not rent it out, honestly, just so we don't have people coming through. But I think I would rather live full time in the mountains.
How's living in the mountains for you? The first thing I heard was remote. It's very remote. Well, yes, it is. Okay, would it support like your family and your highest vision and dreams of yourself? No, I hear part-time is best.
All right.
But you could
Yeah.
snowbirds. Yeah, that feels good.
Okay.
That feels the best.
I can deal with that.
Yeah. So something, yeah, because I was hearing remote, right? When you said living. So like I've talked to people that are like, oh my gosh, I want to live in Sedona. It's so amazing, right? And I have yet to go there. I was supposed to go there last month, but people are going with that COVID. So I've heard of people going there, and then it's like they can't work because it's so like just peace. And because it's so peaceful, they have trouble being in the energy of actually working.
Okay, interesting. Yeah.
So that's kind of like what's coming up that could be the thing for the mountain. Like it might hold you back in some way of the vision that you're creating. And when I did ask the question, I was like, per your personal vision, right? For yourself. That was what I was aligning the question to when I got the message.
Right. Okay. Cool.
Because you love it. Yeah.
Yeah, love it. Love the mountains.
It'd be a blast.
So I've traveled. We've lived in so many places. Like I lived in Boulder, lived in Bozeman, Montana, but we've also lived in a lot of jungly places where there's no seasons, and it's just as good in a lot of ways. So it's so hard to pick. The idea of settling down and having like one home base, it's still really hard for me to
no. Oh yeah. Cause you like this part of you, you have this urge to go be multiple places. I can see that for you. Yeah.
Andrew Henderson, the nomad capitalist, he was on our show a while back, and he has 4 houses in different parts of the world, and he sort of does 3 months a year at each one. And I was like, that feels pretty good.
It does feel good.
He does. He has Colombia. I think he's in Bogota, Georgia, Republic of Georgia, Malaysia, and maybe one more. Maybe where's his other one? I can't remember. But yeah.
How does your wife feel about it?
About what? Moving?
Yeah, being in all these different areas.
I mean, the reason we're here is because we were in Portugal, and we were about to move to Romania 2 years ago, and we were going to move to Transylvania, right down the road from Dracula's castle. It's a really cool part of the world. And she's like, I really just want a garden, like a full growing season to connect with my own plants in my own yard. And I was like, well, to have that sort of connection with one place for a full cycle of seasons, a full year, and experience, comparing this spring to last spring, that's something you can't get moving around. And there's a real beauty in seeing the same place through the different seasons year upon year. And this will be our third spring here now. And there's a lot of anticipation, like, what are we going to be planting? What are we going to be, what's our growing season going to look like? And, all this stuff. So if you're just bouncing around, going from like ideal location to ideal location, you miss some connection with the earth in that way.
But also I'm like, go to Idaho in 3 months because I want you to miss something. And well, not me, but like that's the guidance, right?
Yeah. Something
Yeah.
that's there now. Maybe it's just going to be a snowstorm and
Yeah.
keep me trapped there. Who knows?
You wouldn't, yeah. I don't know.
Um,
Many things. And like I can like dig into that, right? But I don't really feel a need to. Like I like people that are psychics. Like technically I am psychic, right? But I don't do readings for people. But sometimes things come in and I'm like, oh, 3 months, or you know, I'll get whatever I get that is most beneficial for the person in that moment. Because that's what I request.
you said a lot of people want you to do like help them with the decision. And if I met you at a party, I would be like, okay, show me something right now, right? It's like do a party trick. Do you do party?
Oh my God, I did that
or?
once.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, I had never, yeah, that happened to me. And I was like so nervous. And like 5 of us were sitting on this couch, right? And it was just this, I didn't know these people. My friend, we were driving home and then she had an invite. So we went. And yeah, we got into what I do as the healing aspect and or individual healing. And someone's like, read me. And I'm like, oh my God, okay. And I saw her soul, right? And I'm like, it looks really dark around your left ovary. And she's like, oh my God, it just turns out I had cysts or blah, 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 blah. And so next thing you know, I had all these clients. They were like, what? There's no way you could have known that. Yeah, it was pretty crazy. So I got what I got first, right? There was no like, tell me about this.
Okay. Yeah. And you just said it and she said, I can verify that. It's cool to get the verification. I had this experience. I was out in the wilderness and had a dream that my friend came to me and he was like, guess what? We're pregnant. And I was like, oh, that's amazing. Then I got back a week later because I was out of service. I got back and I was like, hey, are you guys pregnant? You told me in a dream. And he was like, yeah, we are, but it's super early days and we haven't told anyone. Like, how did you find out? I'm like, what do you mean? How did I find out? You told me.
I love it. I've totally like gotten text messages from people in my dreams before.
I have a policy. Like I get more and more friends showing up in my dream and even if it's just a weird thing, like so my friend and I, we were just on a bus ride in my dream last night. And I was like, don't know if this means anything to you, but we were on a bus together last night. And he was like, that's awesome. Like, I can't wait to do another project with you. It was like, just thinking about you. And I was like, okay, maybe we're going to go for a ride together. Maybe we're going to do something together. So who knows?
So funny. I love it. It's so good. Yeah. Yeah. The dreams are powerful. When I lived with roommates, I was more in tune with my dreams because of conversation that I was having in the morning. They would be like, oh, wait, what? I had a dream with that word in it or something. Right. So it's like, if I'm not talking to people first thing in the morning, I don't necessarily remember.
Slips away. Yeah.
But you can activate that. I could, if I wanted to, which someday I will when I'm ready. So like, yeah.
You called me a couple weeks ago and you said, if you want to do your group program now, you've got green lights for it. Do you have any more thoughts? So I've run masterminds in the past.
Like immediately start talking about it. I'm like, yep, energy's flowing. Like I feel the energy flowing there.
Okay. Any more specifics? Is it the same thing I've done before? Is it something new or any direction on like how to get into momentum around that? I'm just curious.
You just have to ask.
Ask people what they need.
Asking. No, like invite people in. Like the group, the type of to me, what I see is like a circle of people. And the idea is like, you're here and then they elevate. You're like, everyone's elevating each other. So one person might like their career or whatever it is might be lifting. And then that supports the rest of the group. And then this person might have this lifting and then that supports the group,
Yeah.
That's what I see. So it's, to me, the beauty of a mastermind, and I've been to some where it's like, I don't care what like the main person is doing. It's the people.
Yeah.
It's like the people that you meet through it. And that like everyone like elevates each other.
So would you approach this as just like me, just think of the people I want in the mastermind and then just ask them to be in it?
Yep.
That'd be fun. That's the easiest way to do marketing. Like, hey, I've got a thing, you should be in it. And they're like, yeah, all right.
Yeah. Easy. Yeah, I get it. Well, yeah, it's like, yes, the energy is flowing. So it's definitely easier than it would be if the energy wasn't flowing there. Right. And then I just hear just ask. And if it's a no, like if someone's a no, then that's like, okay, no for you. Right. Because you want people that it's like perfect for, that want in. I just see a group of people and there's like a theme topic every week. And
yeah, I enjoy running them.
Yeah. It's about the connections. Yeah.
I ran for 4 years. And then this year I took all of 2021 off from that.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
People are ready for something new. So
good.
Not necessarily the mastermind idea needs to be new, but they're ready for like that support group.
Okay. All right. Anything else you want to mention that I haven't asked you about before we wrap?
Well, I still feel the energy. It went away and it came back around the throat. So is it regarding the mastermind? Yeah. Okay. So anywhere that you're having trouble vocalizing what it is that you want out of a math, I would figure out what you want. Yeah. Figure out what you want. Because just because the energy is flowing doesn't mean you need to jump into the energy flow or the river that's flowing that direction. But it's like, why not? Especially if you enjoyed it in the past, right?
Yeah.
But that's what I would be clear on what you want out of it. And then know that the people that you invite in will want the same thing.
That's a good point. I mean, it's much easier to be able to just explain to what it is.
Yeah. Like, this is my intention.
Yeah.
This is what I want out of it. And I would love for everybody else to get the same thing. And then they're like, okay, yeah, me too. I want that. Okay, cool. Let me jump in. It looks like this link. It's like a ring. It's like a circle.
What's the ideal number in your sense?
I hear 8.
8. That's what I was already going with. So okay.
So maybe I just pulled it out of your energy field.
It could be, yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Perfect. Easy.
Thanks for your using your gifts to support me and sharing your stories. Yeah. Enjoyed hanging out with you.
Yeah, we went every which way. So fun. All right.
Where can people find you? What do you want to direct people anywhere?
Yeah. If you want to book a discovery call, they're free. So BethanyLondyn.com. You can book right in. Easy. It's all about ease here. We like the flow.
All right. Well,
and it's London with the Y. I should say London. That because people are listening. BethanyLondy. And it's the cool factor.
All right.
Yeah.
Bethany, great to see you. Good luck with your real estate thing you're going to after this.
Thank you. Thank you.
We'll talk soon.
It's to be easy.
All right.
Okay. Have an amazing day.
Yeah, you too.
Okay. Bye.